Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is dealing with a political war that is taking place behind the scenes at Disney, where allegedly those on the progressive left are attacking those on the right, creating a hostile work environment. This one comes from our friends over at the Daily Wire. If you're not already a member, hey, go over and become a subscriber today. And also show us some love here at the Bald Brad Show by hitting that like and subscribe button and sharing this video link with your friends and family all over social media. Again, this is written by the Daily Wire, and they title it, "They Call Their Fellow Employees Bigots. Conservatives at Disney Issue Open Statement Detailing Hostile Work Environment." As LGBT employees at Disney get ready to stage a walkout on March 22nd over Disney's attempt to remain neutral on Florida's Parental Rights and Education Bill, conservative staffers have issued an open letter of their own. What I find interesting is anytime a corporation, a politician, or an entity, an institution goes against whatever they agree with, they automatically have to go stage a walkout or a kumbaya or start burning buildings down because they don't agree with it. And I mean, if they really didn't agree with it, don't you think that they would probably quit their jobs? So this is just one way that they could throw a hissy fit, get out of work early, and throw a temper tantrum. And honestly, they're kind of due for one because they went about 4 years with throwing temper tantrums every other day when Trump was in office. And we haven't really seen them take to the streets in quite a while. So they're actually due for a little hissy fit, a little temper tantrum. And so now they're going to stage a walkout over this education bill, of which has no effect on Disney whatsoever, which is why Disney's remaining neutral. And, so they can get out of work for free, maybe. I don't know. But we got to give it to them so they can go cry in the streets. Published Monday and provided to the Daily Wire in advance, the authors reveal that they do not feel safe in their jobs and say that Disney has come to be an increasingly uncomfortable place to work for those of us whose political and religious views are not explicitly progressive. The staffers say they've watched silently as Disney villainizes and condemns political leaders who share their opinions. And this just isn't happening at Disney. This is happening in many industries. It's just that Disney's being highlighted here. We see this in the entertainment industry and especially the education industry where I work. I mean, I remember having to just walk on eggshells while working on campus because I didn't want people to find out that I was a Trump supporter while Trump was in office for fear of losing my job. I remember going into other teachers' classrooms, closing the door, having to whisper and having political conversations with them. I mean, like I said, in past episodes, people thought I was a Bernie Sanders supporter while I was a teacher for many, many years because I had a fear of losing my job, where I knew if I at least equated or went with the progressive left, there was a less likelihood that I would lose my job. Now, many people know that I'm conservative nowadays, but back then I wasn't as tough as I am today. So again, this is happening everywhere. It's just that Disney's being highlighted. Many conservatives, as you're seeing in this article, do remain silent out of fear of losing their job. Over the last few weeks, we have watched as our leadership has expressed their condemnation for laws and policies we support. We have watched as our colleagues, convinced that no one in the company could possibly disagree with them, grow increasingly aggressive in their demands. They insist that the TWDC, the Walt Disney Company, take a strong stance on not only the issue, but other legislation and openly advocate for the punishment of employees who disagree with them. Left-leaning cast members are free to promote their agenda and organize on company time using company resources. They call their fellow employees bigots and pressure TWDC to use corporate influence to further their left-wing legislative goals. So it's always okay when the left does it, but anytime the right does it, and I'm not saying it's okay when the right does it, but when the right does something, it's always wrong. There's always a double standard. And the best way of seeing this is through the media. It's through the entertainment industry. It's through the education industry. How many times have you seen somebody get banned or somebody get shadow banned or somebody removed off Twitter or somebody removed off YouTube because of their conservative views? But when you have somebody on the left doing the exact same thing, they're not held to the same standard as somebody on the right. Case in point, you had Whoopi Goldberg do her whole debacle on The View. She got a 2-week suspension, whereas if somebody was on the right, would be utterly destroyed and removed from that industry. But there's always a double standard with the left. The left always want to get their way, and when they don't, they burn buildings, cities, and destroy neighborhoods. Rather than demanding the company issue statements on proposed laws and use its influence to pressure legislators, the conservative staffers behind the letter, who publish anonymously out of fear of retaliation, are instead asking the company to stay out of politics. Citing Hamilton and The Mandalorian as unifying content, they argue that Disney is more valuable as a business and a cultural institution when audiences from across the political spectrum feel free to enjoy the entertainment it produces. They're inviting the public to join them and asking the company to stay politically neutral. And Disney hasn't really been staying politically neutral. I mean, there's many things in Marvel and in Star Wars that they've really just honestly crammed down our throats that is leftist views, leftist propaganda. I mean, I remember a scene in The Winter Soldier. The Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus film that came out where they had the African-American man, who's a great actor, by the way, take up the helm of being Captain America. I remember there was a scene on the street with the neighborhood, and he's talking in a way that says how America is so racist and all these other things, and just really cramming down our throat that America is so terrible and evil and all these things. And Disney is known to do this. Disney is known to push their leftist propaganda on the American people. And look, I still watch their content, but they're absolutely right here is that more people would enjoy their content if they just didn't cram it down our throats. That doesn't mean that you couldn't have an African-American lead actor or an Asian lead actor, all those things. But when you're constantly pushing it in our faces in a realm that maybe it shouldn't be, where it could just be accepted as being normal, but the fact, again, that you're overemphasizing it, you're exaggerating it to make a point, and you're making that point very clear, then it becomes a problem. And that's exactly what these employees are highlighting, that not only is it influencing behind the scenes, but also in front of the scenes on the TV screen, on the silver screen as well. They go on to say here, one of the employees who works in the Imagineering department designing attractions in Disney theme parks told the Daily Wire that he has had three close colleagues leave his division in just the last 9 months because of increasingly hostile work environment. No matter what department or what segment, we've been watching the diversity, equity, inclusion take over Disney accelerate to breakneck speeds, and God help you if you get caught standing in front of the train. An engineer, described the open letter as kind of a last-ditch effort to appeal to senior leadership that may agree with us, but lack the courage to say anything because they feel all alone themselves. Some senior leadership is listening. And this stuff goes from the bottom all the way to the top. So just because you're a conservative, somebody at the right at the bottom, and you're not feeling heard, we have to understand that there's those that at the executive level that feel the exact same way, and they're hiding in the shadows just as these people were, out of fear of retaliation, out of fear of losing their job, out of fear of if they try to get another job, that when that employer calls their supervisor at Disney, that they're going to be blacklisted or shamed in some way, shape, or form, or manipulated, to where they're not able to ultimately get hired at the new company. One high-level studio executive who spoke to the Daily Wire on the condition of anonymity, said they too were concerned that the company is damaging its brand by abandoning the political neutrality that many hoped the more conservative Bob Chapek would usher in when he replaced liberal Bob Iger as CEO. At first, Chapek seemed to stick to that position when he issued a memo to the employees saying that Disney would not publicly weigh in on Florida's HB 1577, a law that prevents teachers from discussing sex and gender identity with children before the fourth grade without parents' consent. Instead, our source said Chapek faced his own Disney deep state of leftover Iger hires intent on undermining that goal. They took to social media and leaked comments to Hollywood trade publications promoting Chapek to reverse course in a move that execs say was motivated by cowardice and stupidity. So, I mean, they're going after one of the head honchos here, and Chapek has to be careful because they're going to be watching him like a hawk. Anything he says or do, they're going to sit there and craft narratives about him and potentially get him fired. This is what the left does. The left will actually make up something, push it out there to the media. Then you got a bunch of people, leftists, that believe it. Then you got corporations climbing on, where corporations are going to work with Disney, and then Disney's going to be pressured by the shareholders ultimately to remove Chapek. So he has to be careful because he's going to get targeted. And this is exactly what the left does. And this is what those that are at Disney are fearful of. This is what those that are at the entertainment industry are fearful of, or education. Every industry has these leftists, these progressives that are supposed to be all inclusive, but when it goes against their narrative, if it goes against their beliefs, their ideology, they're basically their religion, then you have to be shut out. You have to be destroyed. You have to be silenced automatically. And this is what's happening within our corporations all across America. So you got to feel for these conservatives working at Disney. I hope that Disney opens up their eyes to what is going on within their corporation and can reverse course. It's not going to stop me from watching their series like The Mandalorian, any of the Star Wars stuff that comes out, things like that, because I absolutely enjoy that content. But I really do think that their corporation has a lot to work on internally, and now it's only leaking out to the public as of right now. Well, with that being said, thank you so much for watching The Bald Brad Show. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Share this with your friends and family all over social media. And folks, I will see you next time here on The Bald Brad Show.